Lucas, hope you're doing well, man. I hope that your week was a good one. Because from a training perspective, it was phenomenal. You're just crushing it these days, dude, which is both making my life as a coach easy. No, I can't say both. It's making my life easy as well as generating a lot of enthusiasm or excitement on my end because things are going so well. And I think that we have every reason to expect that things are going to continue to go well for a number of reasons. I'll talk about them as we go. So first, let's talk about contextual factors like managing your training this week when you were really fatigued. I totally hear you in terms of having lots going on at work or just extra training factors, extra just meaning outside. And despite having an adequate quantity of sleep, there's still enough to tax you. I'm really glad that you were able to get a pretty adequate quantity of sleep because I think without that, it would have been an even tougher sort of grind. But you managed it really well. You didn't have to make any changes really to the training program other than, like what you said, you might have sped up your descent on the tempo squats. But aside from that, like not having to cut intensity or volume is a really good sign. And technically, you're executing quite well. So lift by lift, squats looked fantastic. From the volume day to your pause squatting to your tempo squats to your top singles and your back off work. Really pleased with how your singles looked. You are coming in hot for redemption, man. 14 weeks is a lot of time. We're going to see your attempts on the platform be even bigger than what they were for the Clarington Open. That's for damn sure. So I don't really have anything technical that I really want to change, but your squat on the second of your singles, you slowed down in the middle, and that's not because you did anything wrong. I think that was just the accumulation of fatigue. It was the second single at 390. At the end of a fairly decent training week up to that point. So the only thing that I'm taking from that is we'll continue to watch for lifts that slow down because we know that you are not an exceptional grinder, but you thrive off of moving things fast and cleanly. You can grind a little bit, but it's not like we're going to be going for anything really, really grindy. Or if we start to see things swinging that way, it just means that we might adjust some parameters so that we're not dealing with a ton of that. So I'm really pleased with the squats. Yeah, nothing else to say about them other than it's still great that we'll never, ever have to worry about depth with you in the CPU. I love it. Don't try or jab Andrews about that until after centrals. I need him to not be in his head. So in terms of bench, I think that bench was looking pretty good. One thing I want to do is send you an article that Matt Goldsmith from Maverick Performance Solutions had written about the bench press. And I think it's pretty detailed. And I found it quite helpful. I didn't have an opportunity to bench today in my own training, but I'm excited to try a few of the cues that he talks about. So what I want you to do is read the article and then tell me either through Instagram or in the next update what you think the applicable information might be for you, like what you think could and should change about your bench press to make it even better. I want to take this cue from, you might know Avi Silverberg. On Instagram, he's Everyday Avi. He directed nationals in Calgary this year. So he had posted a story recently about how he asks his lifters to give feedback about what they think they need to do better or change with regards to their lifts. Makes things interactive, makes them be a little bit more reflective. Plus, it allows the coach to access some of the information that we don't really have access to because it's you. Like you have that inherent sort of feedback physically about how things feel, how they look to you. And then we get to use that really important information to make cueing decisions as well as programming decisions. So long-winded way of saying, read the article, tell me what you think is important for you, and any other thoughts that you have in terms of what you think has been working really well for your bench pressing programming, whether it's something that we've tried or something that intuitively you think would be really good. But technically for bench this week, I'm liking it. I think that it's coming along. And part of the reason why I want your feedback is because I think there's probably something that we can tweak that's going to make a pretty big difference for you. What it is, I'm up in the air about. So, um, hence the question. But make no mistake, I think that you're doing really well. I'm happy with how things are moving, even if they felt just okay this week. They didn't feel bad, and you got the work done. That's the main thing. If we can keep you doing work consistently, keep you healthy, we're going to be in phenomenal shape, not just for provincials, but for every other meet that we do in the future. Deadlifts, great job, man. Friggin' 480. Is that for your top single? Um, Moved beautifully. And your volume work earlier in the week went really well, especially being in the context. Pardon the yawn. Um, Especially being in the context of having just squatted beforehand. So, pleased with that. In terms of programming and what you can expect in the coming weeks, not a ton is going to change until it looks like we have to. Forgive me, I can't recall if I've mentioned this before for you. I've talked about it with someone, or some people, I just can't remember exactly who they were. But I'm taking some cues from Mike Tashir and using some of his ideas around what he calls emerging strategies. So the main point of it is that this seems to be working pretty well. Seem to be feeling good. You're making progress insofar as we're adding weight to the bar. Things are still looking technically sound. Um, yeah, and there aren't any sort of apparent drops or drastic drops in performance. So we'll keep our eyes out for performance drops, and it might just be for one lift or two lifts, might not be across the board. And when we see those performance drops, that'll be our cue to do something. You know, until we see that drop, I don't think there's a really phenomenal reason for us to change our approach if it's working and if you're feeling good. Um, Now, if we become aware of some sort of challenging time period, if you got something big coming up in the next little while, the next few weeks, next few months, you're going somewhere, other things that would reasonably disrupt our training, then let me know because we're going to um, adapt appropriately, sort of preemptively. But shy of that, we're just going to keep on trucking, I think. Because again, if it ain't broke, right? So, one final exercise, in addition to reading the article for bench pressing and letting me know what you think is relevant, tell me, it doesn't have to be now, but if you have the answers, then by all means tell me now, um, what your goals are for centrals, both in terms of outcome, like what sort of numbers you want to post for the different lifts and for total, but also what sort of process oriented goals you might have. So, process oriented goals could be things like feeling really confident every time you walk up to the bar to take a heavy squat, or feeling maybe dialing in your bench press a bit more so that you're feeling stronger and things feel smoother and more consistent. Um, Things that basically lead into the outcome oriented goals, if that makes sense. I'd love to get anywhere from 2 to 3, both types of goals from you. Um, I think goals are an important thing for us to have in writing, especially. So write them down somewhere, ideally somewhere that you'll be able to see it fairly regularly, because perhaps it can sound a bit cliche sometimes to people, but writing things down and I don't know, anecdotally, I don't have any research to back it up. Anecdotally, it seems better, feels better to actually physically write it on something, whether it's paper or a whiteboard or chalkboard, rather than like typing it on a phone or computer. But write it down somewhere. Look at them intentionally every now and then, whether it's every day, once, twice a week, just to remind yourself of what you're working towards. Maybe it's before your training sessions. Intentionality um, makes a big difference for any athlete, for anyone with a purpose, to know what they're about and why they're doing what they're doing, especially on the tough days, the days that you don't want to go train, or the days that you are just gassed from work or from other things. Having that in mind as to why you're doing something, um, probably helps to give a little bit more gas to a little more fuel to stoke the fire. So I think that's all that I had to say about this. I'm going to make the changes to your training now. And by changes, I mean I'm going to update it so that you're ready for next week. Just to summarize your homework. So 1, article and bench pressing. Tell me what you think is relevant. 2 to 3, outcome-oriented and process-oriented goals for centrals. Could even be beyond centrals too, maybe for the rest of this calendar year. And then 3, what was it? I just had it. That's frustrating. Nope. Oh, got it. We got it. Let me know if there's anything coming up for the rest of the summer that might alter our training schedule. All right, man. I've rambled long enough. Hope you're enjoying the weekend, and we'll talk soon, man. Great week. Let's have another.